Yeah, Donald Trump on fire today from every direction, right? He says that Israel and Iran are two countries that have been fighting so long they don't know what the F they're doing. Yeah, this is after he lit up CNN and MSDNC, as he called them, right? And he went after them just for not giving credit to the B-2 pilots and so on and so forth. He's not in a good mood. I would not want to be on the receiving end of his phone call today. Benjamin Netanyahu already got a phone call from him today. I wonder how that went. He told him to turn the bombers around. Andrea Stricker, Deputy Director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, a Nonproliferation and Biodefense Program, and an FDD Research Fellow, joins me now. Andrea, nice to have you here.
Great to be with you.
All right, so what about the strikes on Iran's nuclear program first? It was a mission like I've not seen before, a mission described in detail, 125 aircraft, remarkable precision munitions, taking out the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran. At least I think so. We don't know where some of the enriched uranium is, but for the most part, I think Iran has been pretty well crippled in their nuclear pursuits. What do you say?
Great to be with you. I would agree. The atomic weapons supply chain in Iran is very decimated. So they're very hurting. And I think they have been set back several months, if not several years, in their ability to make nuclear weapons. So I think we can all rest easy that this was a good choice by the president to get involved and deal the final blow.
So then today, last night we hear a pretty jubilant Donald Trump announcing on Truth Social that there's a ceasefire in place. It'll take effect. It should be in effect now. I'm not sure where it stands at this hour because overnight it seems that Iran sent some munitions toward Israel. Israel called it a flagrant violation of the ceasefire agreement and promised to return fire, massive fire. Donald Trump then speaks with Benjamin Netanyahu sometime early this morning, says, turn those planes around. He wasn't asking. He was telling you, turn those planes around. We have a ceasefire, and we're not going to tolerate it. Probably an interesting phone call. Would like to have the printout of that and the readout of what happened there. What do you make of that? Donald Trump wasn't asking Israel to turn the planes around. He was saying, turn the planes around. He wasn't asking. He was telling. What do you make of that?
Correct. I believe the Iranians had violated the ceasefire by sending a missile toward Israel. And so Israel responded with a massive attack on their besiege and their internal security. So Iran, I think, then was upset. And so the president had to get involved and say, look, you need to turn the plane around. Very tense times. And I'm sure both sides are itching to continue the fight. But when Trump tells them not to go forward, they may have to listen.
They may have to listen. Where does that put the United States? I mean, this is not a war for the United States. This was a military operation. One and done, it looked like. I don't know that you'll need to revisit that because, honestly, to be fair, from all the images that I've seen, this was a devastating strike. You pile that on top of what Israel has done to Iran over the last 7 to 10 days. It is debilitating. It puts Iran at the weakest position. And this was true before the war, by the way. The regime in Tehran prior to the war with Israel was at its weakest position in 46 years. It certainly has not improved. Where does that leave the regime in Tehran?
It certainly leaves them hurting. They've had all of their internal repression and security forces hit by Israel's strikes and now lost all their nuclear sites, their missile sites, and a great deal of their military force. I would expect to see the regime try to rebuild. And one thing we need to keep an eye on is whether they could reconstitute their nuclear program, try to cobble together some kind of a nuclear program with what they have left, and then try to present the world with nuclear bombs. Now, I think Israel is so penetrated into Iran's establishment and their nuclear weapons activities that they would likely be able to stop that, to see it well before it actually happened.
So let me ask you this, Andrea. You've written a number of books on the topic of nuclear proliferation. You have a really good feel for what's happening. How much enriched uranium is unaccounted for today? I've been told hundreds of pounds. Do you have any feel for how much enriched uranium may have been moved prior to these attacks by Israel and especially by the United States?
So, around up to 400 kilograms of the highly enriched uranium is unaccounted for. And then there's around 275 kilograms of a little bit of a lower enriched material that we're concerned about. And the 400 kilogram amount is enough to fuel around 9 to 10 nuclear weapons.
So when you
So
say
it's
highly
key-
enriched, what percentage
It's 60%.
or better?
No civil use for Iran to be making that level.
Right. So a civilian, just so we're clear on this, a civilian nuclear program to provide electricity, you don't need uranium enriched anywhere near that, do you?
Correct. And Iran can actually import uranium enriched to around 3.5 to 5% to run its nuclear fuel reactors. There's actually no reason it needs to be making anything at all, given the nature of that technology and that it could be used to fuel atomic weapons.
So the only reason, just to be clear, this is your area of expertise, Andrea, just so there's no question in the audience. The only reason to have uranium enriched to 60% is because you're in pursuit of nuclear weapons, correct?
That's correct. It basically puts Iran days from being able to produce 90%, which is weapons grade.
Weapons grade, 90% enriched. 10 nuclear weapons would be produced there. And they were in pursuit of missiles that would have delivery systems that could reach the United States. So it wouldn't just endanger the Middle East and Israel, it would endanger the United States. That was the reason for the strike, correct?
That's correct. Iran was working on a space launch program. Do we see any Iranian spaceships going to the moon? I don't think so. They're working on that under the guise of making long-range intercontinental ballistic missiles that could carry nuclear warheads to the U.S.
Correct. Now, Russia had made comments about giving Iran nuclear weapons. I don't believe that to be true. I believe that to be complete and utter nonsense. I say that because it's pretty obvious. Why would Russia want to have a nuclear-powered radical regime in its front yard? My guess is they would not. China wouldn't care for it either, I would think. So I don't think that Iran's going to find much help from its colleagues in Russia, China, North Korea, or anywhere else for that matter in the near term. I'll give you the last word here. I think that Iran's nuclear ambitions have been stunted, to say the least, but maybe you're right. Maybe they're not going to quit. Last word to you.
I would say we need to keep an eye out for that missing highly enriched uranium. We may see Israel violating the ceasefire, even the U.S. violating the ceasefire to take it out if necessary, and that would be a good thing in my opinion.
Can we detect that? Can we detect the uranium from satellites or other detection systems?
No, it's probably going to be something like we hear officials talking about it, and that's how we figure out where it is.
Okay. No way to detect it as far as radioactivity. That's too bad. I live in a world of science fiction come true, so I thought we could figure it out. Anyhow, Andrea Stricker, greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you for the answers.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. That should give you some insight from an expert, a real expert. She's co-authored 5 books on nuclear proliferation. She gets it. She understands what's happening in the real world. I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show.